Welcome back. We're here again this evening with Sheriff Mullendore, third-term Sheriff of Washington County, Maryland, to go over many of the interesting aspects of law enforcement in Washington County, Western Maryland. Actually goes up into Pennsylvania, I'm sure, and down into West Virginia off of 81 and clear out into the far reaches of Western Maryland. Ken, I know you've got an interest during this holiday season, so
yeah.
What's your question for us?
Yeah, so holidays are coming up. Obviously a big time for scammers, as well as everything else. What are some common scams that you've seen in Washington County area in the past, and do you expect to see them again this year?
We do. We get a lot of phone solicitation from organizations saying that they want to provide funds for the needy during the Christmas and holiday season. And unfortunately, people don't always check out these organizations to see whether they're legitimate or not. And with the phones the way they are, they can make the phone call look like it's coming from this area as opposed to maybe even being from overseas. And they have it set up where you send the money to a post office box and then they have someone collect it and so forth. A couple of years ago, we actually had a scam. You're familiar with the red kettles that the Salvation Army has out. We had a gentleman from West Virginia actually set up his own red kettle, and he was collecting his own funds. And all of the Salvation Army have their own. They have the aprons, and
right.
They're well designated as being Salvation Army kettles, so you have to be very careful of that. And then we also have the ongoing IRS scam, and we've had a lot of those recently where someone's calling from the IRS and they're very persistent, and they will tell you that the sheriff actually has a warrant for them if they do not come up with a certain amount of money. I've even received one of those calls myself, and I kind of chuckled to the guy. I said, well, that's funny. I happen to be the sheriff. And they politely hung up. But we get those all the time. But unfortunately, some people believe it and do, give them money. And once they get money out of someone, then they're persistent. They're coming back to that individual, and oftentimes they're able to get $5,000, $10,000 before somebody is able to do that. We've also had the scams where somebody has hacked into a computer and it'll come up and it'll make it look like it's from the FBI. Mm-hmm. And they tell them that in order to unlock their computer because they did something wrong, they have to send them $200 by money order. Right. And that's a total scam. That's not how the government operates in any way. So if it doesn't seem right, always say, well, let me call you back, give me a phone number or something like that, and then call your local police and let us check it out for you.
Okay, before you leave that area, how many police scams are there? Sheriff's Association, chiefs of police, all kind of police organizations is constantly calling for fallen policemen, for policemen that are in trouble. Are they legitimate, or what are they? Because to me, a lot of times they're a scam, and they may not be.
There are some that are legitimate. The Maryland Sheriff's Institute, which is a part of the Maryland Sheriff's Association, does send out literature through the mail. They are a legitimate organization. The Maryland Chiefs of Police Association is a legitimate organization. The Fraternal Order of Police. But there is one that we get calls on all the time. It's called the U.S. Deputy Association out of Wisconsin. And they will tell you that they provide funding for the local deputies, and sometimes they'll even mention the name of the sheriff. They are legitimate in the fact that they are a registered organization. However, they do not provide any funding to the local sheriff's office or any law enforcement in the state of Maryland. So you have to be skeptical of that.
Let me switch gears. You mentioned earlier in the first segment regarding our geography and makeup of the roadways going through here and how easy. There's a little perception about trafficking of minors going through Washington County, and also some prostitution or things that might occur at the truck stops and things. Could you maybe enlighten?
Sure. You're referring to what's called human trafficking as part of that. And, we are vulnerable to that because we do have the 3 interstates that intersect Washington County, plus we have a number of truck stops in our area. The Sheriff's Office actually became a member of the Truckers Against Trafficking a number of years back, and as part of that, we went out and actually trained the personnel that are at the truck stops to be able to recognize signs of human trafficking and be able to report that. And we also have had a couple of cases where they were actually in the area and were soliciting on Craigslist for solicitation. So it does happen. It's not extremely prevalent, but one of the things that we do as a sheriff's office as well is we are the first agency, and I think the only agency still under the Kids Readiness Project for the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. And what that means is that we follow national policy in looking for missing children. So when we get a report of a missing child, we spend the time up front and a lot of resources looking for that child to get them returned back home before they get caught up in the human trafficking network that is so prevalent across the country.
Fantastic.
So let me ask you another question. So we recently had the Day Reporting Center was opened up. How is that going? Are you seeing that making a positive impact?
It is making a positive impact. It's going very well. It was a little slow in the beginning because it was new. It's not been done in the state of Maryland. And working with our judges to work out all the kinks that needed to happen in the criminal justice system. For example, the amount of sentence that had to be given so that they could complete the project. We've had 5 people graduate from the program so far. We've had 39 in the program currently, and we have 5 that will be evaluating this coming Friday to come into the program. So it's really starting to beef up. What that is we have a lot of partners who are part of the Day Reporting Center, and we treat that holistically. So we're giving anger management classes, we're giving parenting classes, we're giving soft skill classes, we're doing job skill training. In the phase 2, which is after the first 30 days of the program, we require them to either have a job or they have to go into job training. And majority of them actually have jobs. We have a drug reentry coordinator who works with them to get them employment. The first thing that we do, though, and one of the problem areas that we have is they have to have stable housing. Because many of our people who are addicted are either couch surfing or they're living with their dealer, so forth. We do not allow that. We don't allow them to live in any household where another sibling or parent or someone else is actually addicted as well, because that just does not go well toward their recovery. So those types of things have really made an impact on our community. And we're not spending the resources on the social side to try to make an impact. I'll give you an example. The first person who actually graduated our program, the very night that he graduated, he became a dad. And the week after that, he became Employee of the Month at Home Depot where he worked at that time.
Right.
And they've been successful since then. They're in aftercare. We follow up with them. We don't just send them out the door and say, you graduated, have a nice day. We're constantly having them come in. We visit with them periodically to make sure that everything is still going well with them. We are in the process currently of working with the court system to begin a pretrial program for people who have addictions. So before they even go to trial on the crimes that they're committing, they would be released to us, and they would actually be part of the day reporting system for that, so that we can start that treatment much earlier in the process. And then lastly, as part of the day reporting system, we're working with the Division of Corrections, the state prison system, to bring those inmates who are getting released within a year to Washington County back to us, where we will be doing reentry programs, drug education, and so forth with them prior to their release into the community.
Excellent.
I'll change gears. Community Deputy Program. We have Williamsport, Clear Spring, Smithsburg, and let's see, Keedysville or
Sharpsburg,
sorry.
Keysville,
Yeah,
that's right.
Sharpsburg and Keysville. They are looking to have a deputy presence, and I believe that from what I read, it was Williamsport was going to look at having 2 days a week, and then the other communities were looking at one. In doing that, what is the focus and effort of the deputies in the community?
It allows that community to have a little additional enforcement that they aren't able to get on a regular basis. Even though we do patrol all of the communities in Washington County, if that town has a specific problem, let's say it's a stop sign or speeding in a particular area, this will allow the community deputy to address that problem specifically for them. They will be working together to set up a schedule so that deputy will be working the same hours for all the towns for that particular week, but it'll be changing up, it'll be evolving. They won't work, say, Sharpsburg every Tuesday. They'll work in Sharpsburg on a Tuesday this week, next week it may be a Thursday.
So Ron can't run the stop sign every Monday down in Sharpsburg because he might.
He might get caught,
he might get
actually.
caught.
He probably isn't going to know what the schedule is.
Why'd you have to tip them off?
Well, I know you're not down there on Mondays.
Well, we don't have much time left, but isn't it ironic? I could have sat here in 1974 and asked the same question. Sheriff Ford brought in resident troopers, and you had a problem. I think you may have been working in Boonesboro at that time.
That's right.
You were working in Boonesboro at that time. Isn't this an ongoing problem over the years where this deputy issue crops up out of the woodwork, that it's an issue? It's happened over the years just about with every sheriff. I mean, it's probably happened a couple times with you.
And many of the towns who currently have their own police department had a resident trooper or resident deputy program. You know, it comes down to that the towns would like to have more control over, you know, what happens.
But they want the
within-
county to pay the bill.
Well, I can't go into that one, but you know, and you know, we're certainly happy to work with them in those cases. You know, if there's an emergency when that deputy is in one of the towns and outside of that town, there's an emergency, that deputy will respond to that emergency as well. So it's beneficial to the county residents as well. You know, for years we had someone in Keysville and Sharpsburg, and that was partially paid for by the tax set-off at that time. And you know, that deputy responded to a number of emergencies in the South County area, and that's kind of what will happen with this deputy as well.
Well, Sheriff, we could go on here this evening. You're a wealth of information, and we're certainly thankful that you are the Sheriff of Washington County for what you've done over the years. Continue, and maybe one day you'll have 4 of those stars up there instead of 3. When we come back, we'll take a look at the Weinstein ripple effect. Stay tuned.